come in. So, I'm not sure if this is an episode of Vlogtober with delusions of grandeur, so it's pretending to be a podcast, or if it's a podcast who's got itself embroiled in a bit of scandal and is trying to go incognito as an episode of Vlogtober. I'm confused. I don't know what's going on. I'll let you decide. Welcome to the Yarn and Yarns YouTube channel. My name is Angela and all of the places you can find me should be linked in the description box below this video. You'll also find links to my Patreon and my Coffee page if you are willing, able, want to support the channel in any way. I would very much appreciate it. But of course it's not a requirement. The fact that you are here and watching is amazing support and I thank you so much for that. Here on the channel you'll find me chatting about my adventures in knitting, spinning, crochet and weaving. I'm also in the midst of Vlogtober, so yeah, that was kind of what my intro was about. This is doubling up as my Vlogtober video today, as well as my weekly chat about what I've been making in the last 7 days or so since we last sat down and chatted like this. As always, a very big welcome to everyone. We've had quite a few new subscribers. I'm not sure if that's a Vlogtober thing, but if you are new, then you are very much welcome here. I love to chat to you in the comments below, so please do let me know where you're watching from and how you found the channel and what you're making. I am really excited to see our Yarn and Yarns community grow. And on the subject of community, because we are still in Vlogtober, I am going to start off with a community shout out today. At the beginning of most of my Vlogtober videos, I am trying to shout out to a channel or to a maker, someone who I know actively participates here in the Yarn and Yarns community. Some of the channels are smaller than me, some of them are bigger than me, but I just want to try and share the Yarn and Yarns love a little bit throughout Vlogtober. So today I want to give a big shout out to the lovely Ivana. And Ivana has the Republic of Me channel here on YouTube. If you have not watched any of Ivana's videos, you should probably stop watching me and go over to her channel. Her videos are so beautiful. She shares her making, she knits, spins, crochets, weaves, does all of the things, and on top of that she's also an amazing artist. In a few of her videos, particularly back at the start of her channel, she shared some of the paintings that she has made in the past and absolutely stunning. Ivana works with a lot of natural fibres and she lives on a beautiful Mediterranean island, and her videos always have lovely sort of montages of what's going on in her corner of the world. So please hop over and check out the channel. If you do hop over and watch a video, then please leave a comment, let Ivana know that I have sent you over, and if you like what you see then please do subscribe to Ivana's channel. Let's get on with the making. This week I have knitting and spinning to share with you, plus a cheeky little acquisition at the end. I have started my weaving. I did promise that there might be some weaving last week, and I have managed to finish warping the loom, and I've woven the first couple of inches of the sort of piece that I'm doing at the moment, but it's not really enough to spend time chatting about yet, so hopefully that will feature next week. I was also hoping to start a crochet project at the weekend. If you watched my little Sunday snippets Vlogtober, I wound up some yarn for the project that I want to start but just ran out of time. Like, Sunday is when I get to spend sort of like the bulk of my time in the week making projects for me, and I just had so much that I wanted to do on Sunday. I didn't quite get round to doing it all, but that's okay. I have also been working on and off on a couple more twiddle muffs. I've slowed down on my production of those at the moment. If you watch my previous weekly chats, you know that I've been making some twiddle muffs for dementia patients, but the organisation that I was donating them to has put up on their website that they're not in need of them at the moment. I wanted to continue to make them to use up my little sort of collection of textured yarns, so I'm going to be saving them up and I will donate them probably next year once I know they are back in need of those again, but I've slowed down a bit because I know that they're not an urgent need, which when I first started making them they were actively advertising on the website that they were in need of them. So they've now said they're in need of blankets that are 22 inches or bigger, so I might start using up some of my scraps, just make some simple granny squares or something like that to make up into a couple of blankets. But I need to think about that a little bit more before I get started, and as I say, this last week or so has just gone by in a blur, so crochet making will ramp up again soon, I promise. I think I will start with spinning, and I've just realised I've left one of my yarns over the other side of the room, so bear with me while I go and grab that. Underprepared as always. So I've got 2 finished spins to share with you, 1 small sample and also the yarn that I was working on last week. I think I showed it to you on the bobbin. This was the sort of first big spin that I have managed to complete on my new Ashford e-spinner, and it's from a lovely braid of fibre that I picked up from Curio Stitches. I think I said Curio Yarns a couple of times in my last chats about this, but Curio Yarns has recently changed to Curio Stitches, and I still haven't quite got used to that in my head. Sorry, Ellie, I have been putting the correct links below the videos though. So this was a braid of fibre that was labelled as merino, tussar silk, linen and flax, I think, and it was these gorgeous colours that kind of reminded me of Halloween. So there was some greens, some orange, some purples, some sort of grey colours, and yeah, so I just spun it up on my Ashford e-spinner and 2-plied it together. So I just divided the bobbin roughly in half and then did a traditional 2-ply, and I'm really pleased with how this has come out. I was struggling a little bit, I think I mentioned last week, getting my set up on the e-spinner just right, because of the blend of fibre. I think I made it a little bit tricky for myself by picking this particular blend when I wasn't not that familiar with my spinner yet, because some parts of the fibres needed a bit of extra twist. So obviously an e-spinner spins at the same rate regardless of what you're doing. The motor works and you have to keep up with it. It's not quite the same as with the treadle wheel, where if you get to a bit where you think the fibre needs a little bit extra twist, you can sort of treadle a bit more. It's a little less kind of intuitive in that regard. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how this come out. There are definitely inconsistencies, but overall I'm really happy with the yarn. It's been washed and sort of soaked now, but I haven't actually counted up to see how much yarn I've ended up with. Yeah, I'm just really pleased with how it turned out as a kind of first proper attempt at spinning on my e-spinner. The only reason I picked this particular braid is because it was handy. It was within reach when I finished my first sample skein, and I wanted to keep going and keep playing on the spinner. But I think as luck would have it, picking this particular fibre blend really helped me to get to know the e-spinner probably a little bit quicker than if I'd have stuck to like a pure wool blend or something like that. And then last week on my vlog I showed off a lovely box of goodies that were sent to me by the lovely Kath at Mountain Pearl, and in there was a little sort of sample bump of fibre in blues and greens and yellows, and I assumed it was a wool blend. There was no sort of actual information about the little sample in the package, but it seemed very much like a wool blend, no other fibres in it, so I thought it'd be a good one to sort of throw on as a little bit of a practice onto the e-spinner, to kind of get used to what settings I would need to spin a wool based fibre. And this is a little sample that I came up with. I think you can see I struggled a little bit to get the tension right to start with, and I think you can see throughout the skein there are some bits which are have got more twist in and others which don't have quite so much twist in, but it turned out really prettily. The sort of colour combination all blended together really nicely, and overall it sort of like reads as a greeny yellow. And I'm thinking on the first day of Vlogtober, I announced our new make-alongs, and I said that for our Vlogtober make-along, so I'll chat more about the make-alongs at the end in case you missed that video, but I'm going to be offering up a prize of a hand knit gnome from me. You can see part of my little gnome collection behind me, and I said I might knit up an autumnal themed gnome. So I'm thinking with the lovely greens in this, this would make a nice body or a hat, and then maybe I will spin up some browns and some oranges and sort of pair that together with this little sample skein to make an autumnal gnome for that make along for the prize. And I think last spin on the e-spinner to show off, I mentioned that I was going to spin up the 2 braids of fibre that were in that box that Kath sent me. They looked like the same colourway, and I was going to use them as an experiment to see how much would fit onto my jumbo bobbins that came with the Ashford e-spinner. And I've spun up the first 100 grams, and these jumbo bobbins are amazing. Look how much space is still left on that bobbin for 100 grams of fibre. It's just a complete revelation to me, because before now I've been spinning using my Haldane Shetland, which is a sort of vintage wheel. They don't make them anymore, and I've got 3 little bobbins and they're tiny. I really struggled to even fit 50 grams worth of fibre onto the bobbins for the Haldane. And now I've got 100 grams on here with plenty of room to spare. Really amazing. I can't get over it. So first 100 grams is spun, and I have got the next 100 grams. This one I'm really looking forward to spinning. It's got much more of this sort of like light minty blue colour in it, and I'm just going to do, again, I'm just going to do a traditional 2-ply. So I've spun up the first 100 grams onto one bobbin. I'll spin this up onto another, and then I'll apply the fibre from the 2 bobbins together. And I've also been doing a little bit of spindle spinning this week. Still working on my gelato rolags, which were from Spindle and Stitches, and I've just finished one more rolag on my Turkish spindle, and I've got in my pack, sorry for the wrinkling, I've just got one more rolag left to spin, and then I need to decide how I'm actually going to ply these together, what I'm going to do with them. But this has just been a really fun spin to play around properly with my little Turkish spindle, which is from Enid Ashcroft. I'll link Enid's shop below. She's an amazing spindle maker, and spoilers for the acquisition segment, a new spindle may have come to live with me this week. But for now, back to this project. These were some skinny rolags in the gelato colourway, 100% merino from Spindles and Stitches, and I got 50 grams altogether. So just one more rolag left to spin. And then on Sunday, on a whim, I decided I wanted to try and get back to a little bit of supported spinning, and I decided to have a go with this bog oak spindle that I purchased. It's from a Canadian maker, and I can't remember offhand who it is, but if I can remember I'll put links in the box below. And I purchased this a little while ago, and this spindle intrigued me because it was advertised as being able to be used as a drop spindle and a supported spindle, and I did spin a little sample of it using it as a drop spindle before, but I had this little sample of fibre from Spin Jones. I placed an order with Spin Jones a little while ago, and quite often the lovely makers at Spin Jones put in a little sample pack. So this is blended top sample in the Paradise Garden colourway, and it's got these lovely blues and pinks, and the pink is some sort of silk, and it's got some texture in it. So yeah, it's proving to be quite a fun spin, not because of the sort of textured nature of some of the fibres, it's not going to be the most even spin. This is my first attempt at using this spindle as a supported spindle. It doesn't spin quite as smoothly as the supported spindle that I have from Enid Ashcroft, but it spins nicely nonetheless, and I was kind of hoping this would be a quick on and off because it's only a teeny tiny, maybe 10 grams of fibre if that, but I kind of got a bit sidetracked on Sunday. I was going to sit and spin the whole lot at once, but yeah, got sidetracked with some other things that I wanted to do and never quite came back to it. So my aim is to try and finish this little sample on this supported spindle this week. All the projects that I have on my spindles and wheel this week. Quite a lot of spinning going on at the moment, which is probably why there's not so much crochet going on, but if only we had more hours in our days and in our weeks. On to knitting, I have 3 works in progress to share with you. The first one is, I'll show you my dad's Christmas socks. So I have I meant to cast on my mother-in-law's birthday socks because they need to be done by the end of October, but somehow I just didn't quite find the time to do it this weekend. But I did take my dad's Christmas sock in to work with me when I'm working in the retail shop as a sort of project that I can sit on knit on if I don't have any other sort of pressing work to do. So I managed last week when I showed you, I just put in the heel flap of this sock. So as you can see, I have picked up the stitches for the gusset, and I've just finished, if I can hold it up, I finished the gusset decreases like here, and now I'm back to just the round and round knitting for the foot. So this is coming along nicely. This is some West Yorkshire Spinners yarn from the Winwick Mum collection, and I'm just doing a 3x1 ribbed sock, and yeah, these are destined to be a Christmas present for my dad, who loves purple. These are the first pair I'm knitting for my dad, so it's a bit of an experiment. He has the same size foot as me, so hopefully if I make these to fit me, they will be fine for him as well. My phone rudely conked out on me then. I forgot to, I've been doing so much recording for Vlogtober, I forgot to delete some of the footage that I didn't need anymore. I think I was saying that the socks for my dad are living in this lovely Canadian moose inspired bag from Frog Peak Creations. Second work in progress is actually a new cast on. If you watched my, I'm teasing this gorgeous bag, if you watched my what I'm going to be making video from yesterday's instalment of Vlogtober, you'll know that I am about to embark, or I've just embarked on a test knit shawl. I'm testing a pattern for Ellie of Curio Stitches, and I need to finish the shawl by the end of November. I am keeping mine in this gorgeous sheepy bag by Emma of Eldon Woodcraft, and inside here I'm keeping all of the yarn. I'm knitting a sport weight version of the shawl and the larger size, so the shawl pattern is going to come in sport and fingering and in 2 different sizes, and you can knit it with or without beads. I've decided to go without beads just because I didn't have any beads. I wanted to try and use what I had in my stash. I didn't really have any, what I would say definitely sport weight yarn either. I ordered some yarn for this shawl, but when it came I really didn't like it, so I sent it back to the place that I purchased it from. It was completely different from the photograph, so these things happen sometimes. I was trying to buy some sale yarn to try and keep the cost down. In the end, I've decided to go with some yarn that I had left over from the shop, which is Rowan wool cotton. It is probably erring more on the DK side than a sport weight, but I've seen this in various places listed as fingering, sport weight and DK, so who knows. And at the end of the day, it's a shawl. I don't think it really matters, and I'm sure Ellie won't mind too much. The idea is just to work through the pattern and work out any errors, I think, and particularly for a shawl it doesn't need to fit to a particular dimension. So I've got more yarn than is estimated in the pattern, so I've got plenty to play with if this does turn out to be on the slightly thicker side. So yeah, I'm just knitting mine in a really nice chocolate brown colour. You know me, I'm always in the mood for autumnal colours, but I felt a real pull towards greens and browns recently. I know brown's not everyone's favourite colour, a lot of people really don't like it, but I'm really happy to be working with brown at the moment. I've got the small beginnings of my shawl. You cast on at the longest edge and decrease, so I cast on 340 something stitches, and now just knitting away in garter stitch and decreasing to create the shape of the main body of the shawl. I'm hoping to work on this for about 20 minutes, half an hour each day. That's my aim anyway, to sit down in the evenings with this project. This is a couple of sessions worth of knitting, but as the number of stitches decrease, I'll be able to knit sort of bigger sections in my kind of 20-minute stints. So I'm hoping to have the main body of the shawl knit by the end of this month, then a border to knit. So I am hoping to have this done in plenty of time for the deadline, which is the end of November. My final work in progress is living in this amazing giant project bag that was made for me by the lovely Pamela, and Pamela was able to visit to to visit my yarn shop. Probably, was it a year ago? Was it 2 years ago now, Pamela? Quite some time, probably more like 2 years ago. And she so kindly gifted me this bag, and it's like a sort of pillow shape bag. It's really lovely, so roomy in here. It's great for a sweater project. I've got my Ragnar shrug in here, so this is my oldest work in progress. So yeah, actually that probably means it was at least 2 years ago that you came to the shop for your little visit, Pamela. And when I rolled the dice this month, the prompt to work on my oldest work in progress came up again. This was a prompt last month, and I got to all of the other projects apart from this one. So I decided that the best way to make sure that the Ragnar got a little bit of love was to start with it this month. So I am currently working on the sleeves of this project. That's not a sleeve. Bear with me. This is a sleeve. So it's a colourwork design by Arnie and Carlos, designed for Rowan, and basically this is 2 sleeves and a tiny little back to make this kind of shrug. It's a bit of a frivolous cast on, and I'm not entirely sure how practical this garment is going to be, but I wanted to knit it and I cast on, and we'll see how it goes. So I am using Rowan felted tweed in 3 different colourways, and I'm also using Rowan Kid Silk Haze. The pattern calls for you to use the Kid Silk Haze on its own, I think, in this colourwork design, but I wasn't massively keen on that, so I'm combining my Kid Silk Haze with a very similar colour of the felted tweed. So my shrug's going to be a little bit thicker, a little bit warmer than the one in the pattern. So I've put a few rows, not many, but it's a colourwork pattern knit flat, and yeah, you have to kind of concentrate on this quite a bit. So I've done about maybe 10 rows, 5, no, I think that might be a bit generous, about 6 rows of this I put in, I think on Saturday night. But I have to be quite clear-headed to work on this, so I know it's going to be a kind of slow drip project, and the fact it's already been on the needles for probably close to 2 years only goes to highlight that. I do have the other sleeve in this bag here. I'm keeping that all together in just a separate plastic bag. I'm trying to knit this sleeve up to the same point as this one. I haven't got that much further to go, so let me just show you. I've just about reached that point where I'm going to be changing from the dark grey to the light grey on this second sleeve, but this first sleeve I have reached the point where the chart for this pattern runs out, and then after this chart it says continue increasing for X amount of rows, making sure that you stick to the pattern. So for, you know, a sleeve, there's a colourwork chart that's like that big, and then you have to kind of keep track of things yourself. Plan of action is to work these sleeves concurrently, which is why I'm trying to get this one up to this point, because then I can work my increases. I can do a few rows on this one and a few rows on this one, and hopefully keep track of the pattern and not have to kind of faff around too much by working out the increases for one and then starting back and doing the increases and trying to keep that straight in my head for the other. Does that make any sense at all? Hopefully you know what I'm trying to say. So yeah, Ragnar is actually seeing some work. Only a little bit, but every stitch counts, right? So yeah, I feel like that was a bit of a pitiful progress on all of my knitting projects there. It's definitely been a slow making week this week, and any time that I have had free, I've really been hit by the spinning bug again, so absolutely okay. You have to go with what the heart fancy's doing, don't you? Otherwise it's no fun at all. And with everything else going on in the world, we all need to do a little bit of what makes us happy. So I mentioned at the top of the video that I have a little acquisition segment this week, and I noticed, well, pretty much every weekend Enid Ashcroft does a spindle update, but her updates sell out really quickly, and you kind of have to catch them as they go on Instagram and then hotfoot it over to her Etsy shop if you want to grab one of her spindles. So I was super surprised when I noticed that she'd had an update and Instagram didn't show me it until 2 hours later, and I thought, oh, there's bound to be nothing left. When I hopped over to the Etsy shop, she had a couple of Turkish spindles left and another supported spindle, and I just couldn't resist. This one was definitely made for me, particularly as I already showed you, I own one bog oak spindle. Enid Ashcroft had a cup style supported spindle, very similar to the bur oak spindle in shape, which is the other supported spindle that I own from Enid Ashcroft, but it's got this beautiful bog oak cup. And again, these have the metal tips on, and yeah, I can already tell that it's going to spin like a dream. This arrived this morning. It's just spinning forever. It's amazing. So yeah, cup style supported spindle, 25 grams the spindle weighs, bog oak and zebrano, which I assume is the shaft, and then a brass tip, and it was in the 3rd of October update. So yeah, I'm really happy to have been able to treat myself to this. I shouldn't have, because I don't really have money to spend on things at the moment, but you know, every now and then you just got to treat yourself. The fact that this was still in her Etsy shop a couple of hours after her update went live, and it's a material that I love, it was meant to be, right? Okay, so that's everything for the making and the acquisitions. Just a quick little chat about the new make-alongs that have started in the Yarn and Yarns community. Both started on the 1st of October. The first one is the Vlogtober make-along. The idea is just to make something small or big if you want to, but in some way connected to autumn, Halloween, just kind of the whole Vlogtober vibe. But I'm pretty fast and loose with the rules. If you can convince me that it's somehow connected to that theme, however tenuous, I really don't mind. We've already got a couple of finished objects over in the thread. There's a couple of lovely hats over there. I think that's everything in the thread at the moment, but people have been chatting about what they're going to make. You can use autumnal colours, you could knit a pair of socks, I think that's doable for a lot of people in a month. Hats, obviously, are fairly quick projects. Amigurumis or gnomes, spin something up. So this is my first finished object for the Vlogtober make along, a little mini skein of hand spun yarn. Doesn't have to be anything big at all. So that make along goes from now until the end of October. There's a chatter thread over on Ravelry and a finished objects thread. If you're not using Ravelry, then you can post your pictures on Instagram using the hashtag YNYVlogtoberCal, and if you're not using Ravelry, don't have Instagram either, you can email me your finished objects to yarnandyarns@yahoo.com. And then anyone who's finished something will go into a pot at the end of the month, and I am going to make a little gnome as a prize. And then the second make along runs from now until the end of the year, and it is the TGIF cowl, the thank goodness it's finished, thank God it's finished cowl, and we're going to just try and finish as many things, clear off as many pairs of needles as we can between now and the end of the year. So whips are absolutely welcome, any craft is welcome, so knitting, crochet, spinning, weaving, if you've got stitching projects on the go, chuck them all in. We're happy for everything to be included. I'm co-hosting that with the lovely Caroline of Colourful Creativity. I already have a collection of lovely prizes in the prize pot, and I've also been in contact with a couple of other makers who are willing to donate some more prizes, so we should have quite a nice collection of things to give away at the end of the make along. If you're not someone who has lots of whips hanging around, you can absolutely cast on new things. As long as you get them off of the needles by the end of the make along, they absolutely count. So far in the prize pot, I have got a drop spindle and some Rolags to give away. We've got some of Caroline's sock patterns, and we've also got, I donated a £10 gift card for anything from the Yarn and Yarns website, and I've had 2 really generous donations of 2 more £10 gift cards from the Yarn and Yarns website as well. So we've got 3 of those to give away. So already I think that makes like 8 prizes in the prize pot, and I think I've got at least another 2 coming. So I'm hoping we'll have loads of finished objects for that, because the remit is really broad, and as I say, we're including any craft really. We had close to 100 pairs of socks for the Summer of Socks make along. I'm hoping that by broadening this out to literally anything, we will have a whole plethora of lovely finished objects in our threads for that make along. So again, there is a chatter thread and a finished objects thread over on Ravelry, and there are some lovely finished projects in there already. I think we've got socks and we've got hats. You can double dip, so if you make something for the Vlogtober make along, then of course you are finishing that within the timescale for the TGIF make along as well. So feel free to double dip in both of those cows, along with any other cows that are going on out there at the moment. The more entries the merrier. And again, on Instagram we're going to use the hashtag TGIFKAL, and you can email me, yarnandyarns@yahoo.com, or you can email Caroline with your finished objects as well. And Caroline and I are keeping a little sort of spreadsheet in the background for the Instagram and the email entries, and then everyone will be put into the pot with the Ravelry entries as well at the end for the prize draw. That's really everything. There's not been that much going on here over the last week or so since we last chatted. Obviously most of the stuff that's been going on you have been keeping abreast with if you have been watching the Vlogtober videos. I appreciate not everyone has the time to watch all of those, so you won't miss out on any of the making content. Every week I will do these kind of roundups of what I've been making. But a massive thank you to people who have been watching those videos and leaving lovely comments. It is quite a lot of work to put up a video every day, and the time that it takes to record and edit those together, but I really enjoy doing it, and it's nice to get to chat to you all in the comment sections of those videos. As always, leave a comment below to let me know how your week's been and what you've been up to. I hope that you have been able to do some of the things that you enjoy this week, and things aren't too bad in your corner of the world. We're now in local lockdown again, so we can't leave our county borders, which is fine. It doesn't really impact how James and I have been living for the rest of this year really. The only thing that it kind of impacts on is how busy the retail side of Yarn and Yarns is. So yeah, I was a little bit quiet last week. Didn't help that the weather was pretty grotty as well, but yeah, we'll see how things pan out over the next few weeks. I hope that you are staying safe wherever you are, and until we get to spend time together again, I hope you get to do some of the things that you enjoy. Great big woolly hugs to you all. Bye for now. Put my phone back on the tripod in a completely different place, so whereas I was looking here before, I now need to look over there. My eyes are going to be all over the place for this video. Sorry if I've not been looking at you. And my final work in good job I've got my glasses on. I'd have poked my eye out with the corner of my project bag then. What the actual is going on with my hair? Good job I'm not vain.